There can be no doubt that tariffs are the tool of the incoming administration. The new administration has expressed possible tariffs on Mexico, Canada, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Malaysia, the United Arab Emirates, and all the countries of the European Union through the implementation of the Reciprocal Trade Act. And I'll be honest, I'm not an economist, nor can I tell you whether such a strategy will work. But what I can tell you is that a consensus of historians agree that the broad implementation of tariffs didn't work in the Tariff of 1828. See also the causes of the Civil War. Or in the Tariff Act of 1930, see also the Great Depression. So will it work this time, and what exactly is a tariff? I'm going to try to answer that for you here, and I'll tell you the 10 things that will be impacted, from home goods and furniture to the food in our grocery stores. There's at least one or two here that may surprise you. If you're new to this channel, my name is Chris, and on this channel we discuss emergency preparedness, aka prepping. From do-it-yourself videos to understanding threats, both natural and man-made, we aim to keep you informed on how these challenges impact us and, more importantly, provide solutions that you can use today for a better tomorrow. While we can't always prevent disasters or downturns in our way of life, we can build resilience through prepping to mitigate their impact. So let's quickly address tariffs. Tariffs, whether beneficial or detrimental to our economy, often brings turbulence, and this can result from their implementation, leading to panic buying or product shortages. But what exactly is a tariff? Simply put, a tariff is a tax a government imposes on imported goods, making them more expensive. And the importer typically pays the tariff, not the exporter. And the goal is to protect domestic industries from foreign competition by encouraging consumers to buy local products. Now, problems arise when tariffs are imposed on products, raw materials, or assembled goods that are not produced domestically. And often the affected industry cannot ramp up production to meet demand, causing pressure on similar products and possible scarcity. And while this is not always the case, it's a common issue with tariffs. Now let's explore the 10 specific things that tariffs will immediately impact if implemented, as this incoming administration is signaling that they're going to do. Now, by listing these out, we hope we'll give you enough information to determine what, if anything, you should buy now before their costs go up. Food. America is not at risk of running out of food. It produces in abundance. However, much of it's exported to the highest bidder overseas. Tariffs could disrupt this balance, as countries affected by U.S. tariffs may retaliate with tariffs on American exports. And this could lead to a surplus of soybeans, corn, wheat, almonds, pistachios, and other major agricultural exports, while reducing access to imported foods like bananas, avocados, coffees, coca, sugar, and tropical fruits. Now, due to climate or other limitations, many of these imports fill gaps in what the United States doesn't or cannot produce. For example, Hawaii produces only 15% of the sugar needed to replace the 1.1 million tons imported from Mexico and just 20,000 coconuts annually, far less than the United States demand. Now, tariffs also affect imported raw materials like palm oil, which is used in 50% of supermarket products and critical to food processing and manufacturing. Now, supply disruptions could force companies to scramble for alternatives, which is not always feasible for healthy and safety reasons. Some manufacturers are preemptively stockpiling to avoid shortages, which ties up capital and risk overstocking if tariffs are not imposed. We will, of course, monitor tariffs and try to alert you to possible shortages in the future if you subscribe to this channel. Still, you should be aware that the most likely immediate impacts of any of the alluded to tariffs would probably be bananas, avocados, coffee, coca, sugar, olive oil, and palm oil. You can also expect a domestic market surplus of too much when it comes to corn, soybeans, rice, and nuts. So the possible end result is not a starving population. It's a lack of variety, across-the-board higher grocery prices, and a lack of investment capital for manufacturing, agricultural, and food processing businesses. Furniture and home goods. When the port shut down during COVID, there was a furniture shortage. Part of that was increased demand for home office furniture and other home furnishings as people spent more time at home. And it was more than just home office furniture, though. The United States imports an average of approximately $28.75 billion worth of furniture and fixture products from Asia, and another $39.4 billion worth of home goods. China is the largest exporter, with imports totaling around $25 billion of that combined amount. And the United States doesn't produce enough cheap furniture and home good products on its own. So you can expect that this will be one of the supplies that will readily dwindle should any tariffs be implemented. Now, domestically manufactured furniture represents approximately 4% of the total furniture market in the United States. What this means is that most furniture sold in the United States is imported, primarily from countries like China and Southeast Asia. And this is excellent news if you're a cabinet maker or a carpenter, but not so great if you want to buy a new desk, couch, chair, or bed. Lumber. In 2023, the United States produced approximately 31.4 billion board feet of lumber. However, the United States imported around 13.2 billion board feet of lumber, primarily from Canada, the largest supplier. Now, the United States exported about 3.5 billion board feet of lumber to various countries. And while a tariff on Canada seems unlikely, it has already been alluded to before this administration has even taken office. If the United States cannot meet the domestic demand for lumber, as it currently cannot, a tariff would drive up the price of lumber further than is already and result in a housing and construction slowdown. Ask any construction worker, and they're going to tell you that if they're not building, they're not working. Any shortage of the lumber supply will increase the unemployment rates. And we've seen similar slowdowns over the years from shortages in drywall and plywood. The higher cost of lumber will also trickle down to consumers, making housing and renovation projects all that much more expensive. Now, additionally, construction delays can disrupt the timeliness of numerous projects, leading to further economic repercussions. Pharmaceuticals. In 2023, about 72% of active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs, used in U.S. consumed medicines were imported, 48% from India and 13% from China. Now, the United States is heavily reliant on foreign medicine ingredients. Here, too, you can catch a glimpse of the impact of tariffs based on what happened during the early days of COVID-19. The pandemic highlighted the fragility of supply chains, revealing their susceptibility to sudden demand spikes, supply disruptions, changing regulations, and dependence on key suppliers. And efforts to diversify suppliers are underway, and there are still ongoing discussions about increasing domestic manufacturing production of pharmaceuticals. But the APIs often can't be produced here cheaply enough. Enhancing supply chain resilience, it comes at a cost. Maintaining higher inventory levels or boosting domestic research, development, and manufacturing, it drives up expenses for healthcare systems at a time when financial pressures are already intense. Now, if you're already reeling about the high cost of your prescriptions, tariffs will make this far worse. Large batteries. Whether capturing and storing solar energy, powering your home after a disaster, or powering your electric vehicle, you need a battery to do that. Now, the battery is probably some type of lithium ion. Its components may be lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, or graphite, and there's simply not enough of these substances mined in the United States to meet current demand. Now, the U.S. sources processed lithium and refined lithium components and products from Argentina, Chile, Brazil, and tons from China. In the second quarter of 2024, China accounted for 82% of the total lithium-ion battery imports to the United States. And the tariff-induced interruption of these raw materials or manufactured components would result in an overnight staggering price increase. It's important to note here that Elon Musk, one of President Trump's advisors, owns about 715 million shares of Tesla, and the company has a 3-year supply agreement that expires next year in 2025 with the Chinese company Ganfeng Lithium. Tesla uses a significant portion of the global lithium market to support its electric vehicle production. And while exact percentages, they can vary, Tesla's demand for lithium is substantial due to its large-scale battery production for EVs. We will have to see how tariffs might impact its sector, but to say that tariffs may substantially affect the market would be a gross understatement. From an emergency preparedness standpoint, if you are ever considering purchasing an emergency battery backup system, I would advise you to do that sooner than later. I'll link to my review that I recently did on these large whole home battery units at the end of this video and in the comment and description section below. We're going to keep you updated on this in future videos. Technology. Implementing tariffs on imported technology products could increase consumer prices. Now, this broad category includes things you might not think of right away. For example, things like televisions, smartphones, printers, digital cameras, Bluetooth speakers, Wi-Fi routers, computers, gaming consoles, USB thumb drives, headphones, and so much more. Now, tariffs would result in not only a cost increase for the end consumers, but also businesses that rely on these technologies for operations and production. In many cases, these products, though designed by companies in the United States, are assembled overseas or contain components sourced from other countries. Now, if tariffs were implemented, the cost of these imported finished products would rise upon re-entry into the United States, impacting consumers and businesses alike. Pretty much any electronic piece of equipment around you is probably assembled in another country or as components sourced from other countries. Only a fraction are 100% American made, both manufactured and assembled. Machinery and vehicles. Implementing tariffs could significantly impact the United States market, especially in terms of the cost of importing machinery, equipment, and vehicles. Mexico's automotive industry, for example, is vital to the North American vehicle production, with nearly 25% of the region's vehicles being manufactured in Mexico. And many of these vehicles, which are produced in plants owned by U.S. companies, are destined for the U.S. market, with up to 79% of Mexican-made vehicles being exported to the United States. They are all susceptible to tariffs, even if the company is wholly owned in the United States. And you're probably more likely to need a car or truck than a tractor. But I recently needed a tractor, and this is why I recently decided to buy a tractor for my homestead sooner rather than later. And even if the machinery is not directly imported, companies like Caterpillar, they rely on global suppliers for raw materials such as iron and steel. Caterpillar maintains a resilient supply chain by partnering with trusted suppliers worldwide, including major sources like China. And the company also exports 50% of its machinery and engines, creating potential challenges on both import and export fronts under the new tariffs. Now, tariffs could affect tractors and other imported equipment critical to the United States infrastructure. Things like turbojets, pumps, industrial machinery, medical equipment, vehicles, and automobiles, and the myriad parts and components that support these industries. Now, this could lead to increased cost and potential supply chain disruptions, affecting various sectors of the economy, raising costs and disrupting supply chains across multiple industries, from automotive to agriculture to manufacturing. Plastics. Consider how much plastic is in almost everything around you. There's so much plastic in the world now that we're discussing the health impact of microplastics and the role of plastics in what will one day be the fossil record of our specific time on this planet. Now, plastic is found in almost everything around us, from raw materials to finished products. Plastics, they're essential across various industries, including electronics, food packaging, manufacturing, and healthcare. In 2023, the United States produced approximately 130.1 billion pounds of plastic. However, the United States also imported around $90 billion of plastic materials, indicating a significant reliance on imports to meet manufacturing needs. Now, major trade partners from plastic imports, they include China, Canada, Mexico, Germany, and South Korea. Implementing tariffs on imported or raw plastic products for manufacturing could significantly impact consumer prices. Now, this is a broad category which includes many things that you may not initially consider: packaging materials, household goods, automotive parts, medical devices, toys, electronic components, and so much more. Tariffs would increase costs for end consumers and businesses that rely on these materials for production and operations. This is one of those items that I'm reluctant to point to any one single product that might be impacted, because tariffs on countries supplying the United States with plastic will ripple across most products and sectors, leading to higher production costs, supply chain disruptions, and ultimately increased prices for a vast array of products that consumers and businesses depend on. Tires. Now, I can point to a similar product that could be impacted tremendously by tariffs, and that's tires. If you thought it was time to get some new ones, this might be the best time. Tires are manufactured in various countries worldwide, with some of the largest producers being the United States, China, Japan, Germany, and India. In these countries, they have numerous tire manufacturing facilities that produce various tire types for different vehicles and purposes. I recall when the ports were shut down a few years back, and these were some of the items that were hard to get. As for raw materials, tires are primarily made from natural rubber, synthetic rubber, carbon black, and various chemicals. And natural rubber is mainly sourced from rubber trees in Southeast Asia, particularly Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. And synthetic rubber is derived from petroleum-based materials, and carbon black is produced from the incomplete combustion of petroleum products. If American tire companies tried to ramp up their production to meet reduced supply, they would find it difficult because millions of tons of carbon black are imported annually to support the tire manufacturing industry. Now, other materials, such as steel and fabric, they're also often sourced from different countries. Tariffs could immediately impact the tire supply. So consider your current needs and the tread that you have left on your vehicle now. Other. I'll end this list with the catch-all category, giving a quick overview instead of a deep dive. Clothing, textiles, and footwear, they're mostly imported, with limited US production unable to meet demand. Now, if you need new jeans, a winter coat, or work boots or gloves, now's a good time to buy. This category also includes metals and raw materials. Tariffs on steel, aluminum, and silicon for solar panels could raise construction and manufacturing costs, while chemicals used in pharmaceuticals, agriculture, and cosmetics may also see price hikes. Many U.S. companies rely on overseas manufacturing and can't quickly shift to domestic production. Now, tariffs, they're immediate, but adapting it takes time. They impact supply, demand, prices, and availability, so it's wise to plan ahead for potential shortages. And while tariffs may eventually boost U.S. manufacturing, they'll first disrupt supply chains, raising prices in the short term. Prepping now can help you mitigate rising costs. I'm going to post 2 videos here on the side of the screen that I'd recommend you watch next. The first is my annual review of solar generators and large emergency backup systems. It will help you evaluate your emergency needs and inform your decisions before making any large purchases. The other is a video on understanding panic buying. I think that's critical here because as any tariffs are implemented or covered in headlines in the media, panic buying can disrupt supply even without any tariffs being implemented. It's essential to understand this connection. So, what do you think? Is there anything that I overlooked or that you would add to this list? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please share and forward this video to anyone you might want to help with a heads up. As always, stay safe out there.